do it, it'll turn out okay. And today I am with, well,
Hello.
introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Lil of All Trades. I have a YouTube channel called Lil of All Trades. I do crafting videos. I do a whole bunch of stuff on. I've recently done a bunch of stuff on Christian nationalists. I am also the co-host of Politicality with the Kentucky Atheist. I'm a co-host on Java and Jugs Monday morning, and I'm usually on Ember's stream. So
So,
I'm all over the place.
real fast, I do a little advertising here. If you guys are hungry, interested in little snacks, my niece is selling cookies right now. Link in the live chat. So just click on the link and description below for later on. Want cookies? Go get some. It's there. You know you want some cookies. Peer
Cookies.
pressure.
Everybody wants the cookies.
But today we are talking about a rather important subject, especially in today's climate.
Very much so. Christian nationalism is kind of a big thing, whether people realize it is or not. So
yeah, we were talking a little bit before the stream about when we got into politics and stuff, and how you're okay. You kind of like 2016. You're kind of like people, Trump people. I understand a little bit, but not that much.
I mean, yeah, 2016. Yeah, 2016. People who voted for Trump in 2016. Depending on the circumstances, it is not blanket. It's depending on the circumstances. But depending on the circumstances, I can kind of give them a pass. I get how bad Hillary was. I get how I get how things were. And I mean, Hillary was, I get how mad people who wanted Bernie were about the whole thing. I wanted Bernie. I was pissed off about the whole thing.
I voted for him in the primaries.
Yeah, so did I. And it's one of those things that also people who were not super clued into politics could have missed a bunch of the crap that Trump said and Trump did. So to a very small degree, there are some people that I can give a pass. Other people I can give a pass are people who were kind of in the Christian nationalist mindset at the time, but have since been able to get out of it and basically kind of make up for it, or at least are trying to. But with 2020, basically my dad died of COVID the day that Mark Meadows, who was the chief of staff, came out and essentially said, we're not trying to do anything to stop this. So as far as I'm concerned, Trump killed my dad, which I am not.
Yeah, it's weird. My governor is a massive conservative person in Ohio, but even he was like, okay, we gotta do stuff about this COVID thing.
Yeah, and I mean, of course, my dad was considered an essential worker. He what had actually happened was someone had believed the Trump propaganda, came into work sick, not thinking it was anything more than the flu. No, it was COVID. My dad caught it. My dad died from it. My dad had a whole bunch of other health issues, so he probably wasn't going to last. I mean, this sounds harsh, but I mean, he probably was not going to survive more than a couple years anyway, but we still had time stolen, which I'm just no. And then 2024, I'm sorry, if you vote for him in 2024, we're done. Goodbye. I don't even want to know you. I don't care.
Yeah, it's like, I think when he first got elected in 2016, I'm like, okay, don't like it, but okay, whatever, nothing you can do about it. But then in, I think it was May or June of that thing, his first clue, my first clue was when he got us out of the Paris Accords.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, it was that. It was the one thing, and I don't know why I didn't expect this, but I should have. I did not expect Congress to just bend over and let Trump have his way with them. I just did not expect them to completely give everything over to Trump. Um, you can say what you want about some of the more old school Republicans in Congress, but there were some in there for a while that were like, no, we're a co-equal branch. You don't run Congress too. John McCain is one of them. But like that didn't last all that long, and now frankly we kind of know why.
yeah, you can tell there's a big difference between his 2016 staff and his 2024 staff
Mm-hmm.
of the of being yes men or
Yeah.
women.
Yeah. Because yeah, 2016, I mean, he had no idea who to bring in, so he was depending on like recommendations from everybody else. There was also a lot of turnover. And hey Ash. And there was a lot of turnover and a lot of like jostling. There was a lot of like backhandedness going on more in the Trump administration. That is not the case this time. Like just everybody, their first and foremost thing is you must do what Trump says. Your loyalty is to Trump, not to the Constitution, not to the country, not to the American people. Your loyalty is to Trump. And if it's anywhere else, you don't get the job to begin with. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, what do you say to people? Let's start to the beginning. The revolution, and maybe earlier. What did you say? People like this country was founded on Christian
It's
principles.
not. It's not at all. One thing that a lot of people don't point out who say that shit is they'll be like, oh, well, there were deists who wrote the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, and they wanted us to be a Christian nation. It's well known that some of the founding fathers were deists. Not all of them. Certainly not the majority of them. And the thing is, the majority could have overridden the deists and made this a Christian nation. Not only did they not do that, they explicitly said, no, we don't want this. We want a nation of laws, not a nation of men and not a nation of the Bible.
Yeah. Yeah, we has got, at least I think we has gotten out of Europe for the last 400 years at that time. Mm-hmm. We saw what religion did to the countries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just the Protestant versus the Catholic wars that were happening over there, just because your God.
Yeah, I mean,
is my God.
Yeah, I mean, before that, I mean, you had just in English history alone is you had the whole thing with Henry VIII wanting to divorce Catherine of Aragon and marry Anne Boleyn. Church said no. He said, screw you guys, we're going to make our own church. There was that. And then there was everything. There was everything with Mary, and there was everything with Elizabeth, and there was everything with James, and there was just all this stuff. And it was just back and forth and back and forth and back and forth for like a century. It was crazy. And it eventually got to the point that, like, yeah, there were a lot of people who were like, this is nuts. We don't need to be running a government based on religion. Now, if you want to sit there and say, like, well, it's founded on Christian principles, well, if you look at what normal people would consider Christian principles, like, don't kill each other. That's kind of a basic human thing. Like, you don't kill people you live with because you live in a community, or way back in the day, we lived in tribes. It was usually not the best idea to kill your neighbor because you might need them for something. I mean, it's just, it's one of those things that this country, and it has been stated, was not founded on a Christian theocracy at all. We don't have a Christian theocracy. They didn't want a Christian theocracy. And now people are trying to say, well, no, they actually did. They just got voted down by the deists, when no, that's not the case at all.
Yeah, I mentioned this in the live chat your stream yesterday that it's been 300 years since the Act of Settlement of 1701, and still you can't be a Catholic and be king of England. Still 300 years later.
Yeah, the reason with that is because it calls into question the line of succession, which is stupid. But
yeah, me and Jillian did think about that in the last year about how they skipped over 50 people to get to George the First.
Yeah.
So yeah,
English history is nuts.
Yeah, I think that they almost have the same problem here with Kennedy. Like,
well, no, because Biden was Catholic. I don't really think it's the same.
Yeah, now, but back then,
I don't think. I think with Kennedy, I think well, here's the funny thing about Catholicism and like in Christian nationalism is a lot of like the Protestants were worried whenever Kennedy got into office that he would listen to the Pope instead of the Constitution. He obviously like, nah, that's horseshit. That ain't gonna happen. Now the Christian nationalists, a lot of the Christian nationalists among the people are all Protestant. But the Christian nationalists who are trying to run the thing are very, very, very extremist Catholics. And it's like, you guys don't realize you guys are going to be the first two fighting out of everybody. I mean, because you can't put up with, like, the Christian nationalists in charge that are Catholic cannot put up with somebody who says, like, Mary was a horse. So what? Like, you're not going to be able to have that. So it's going to be interesting if they actually grab a foothold.
Yeah, when you say Christian nationalists, what do you mean? It's like, is it Protestants, Baptists, Catholics, Eastern Orthodox?
All of the above. It's all of the above. It's people who, one, are very nationalistic, rah, USA, number one, USA can do no wrong, point blank period, greatest nation on earth, the Constitution is divinely inspired kind of people. And then it's people who are so, like, locked into the mindset of, like, not only being Christian, but being a specific kind of Christian. And it's usually Protestant, so I'm going to go with Protestantism on this, to where, if anybody's ever heard of the Seven Mountains Mandate, it's basically to where they think they have to take over, like, the 7 big pillars of society. Like, they have to take over society, education, government, arts and media, business, culture, and there's one more that family.
I just noticed something real fast. I think your camera is mirrored.
Oh, yeah, it probably is. Let me fix that. Ah, come here. Yeah, it is. There we go.
Right.
So there's there's these three there's these like 7 pillars that they think they need to take over, and they take over some of them. But like one of them that a lot of people don't realize is like family. So one thing that they want to do, this is part of the reason behind the abortion push, of course, is because they think that men and women should get married and have not only babies, but their own biological children. Like, they are pretty much against anything else. It also is why they're anti-gay marriage, why they're anti-trans, anti-anything that is not just straight up traditional marriage. Like, one man, one woman for life. There is no divorcing.
Yeah.
And you see a lot of that stuff starting to creep in, especially with the laws. Like, they just managed to overturn Roe versus Wade. But the ruling that hinged on, a lot of other things hinge on that, including Justin Clarence Thomas's marriage. He is black, his wife is white. That ruling, his marriage also hinges on.
Yeah, the thing. I said before, when they like, let's get to the states to decide states' rights, baby, and then the states are voting against it. They're like, oh, that's wrong. States' rights are wrong now. You're disagreeing with us.
Mm-hmm. Another big part with Christian nationalists too is they love rewriting history. They're the ones that when you ask them what the Civil War was about, they'll say states' rights. They just won't tell you that it's states' rights to own people. They just won't tell you that part. And a lot of people are not even taught that part, to be fair.
So they're like the big thing of the lost cause myth.
Yeah. It's there's a whole lot with that. They are very much behind the push of either young earth creationism or intelligent design. They are the big force behind that because they think if you can disprove evolution, which they can't do, then the answer must be God because there's no other option, which they also don't understand that even if evolution was disproven, that doesn't mean God exists. Like, you have to prove that too, and they can't do that.
Even they're even like to get the people that believe in both. You're like, oh, you can't be like the Christians that do believe in evolution.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
they're not real Christians.
Yeah, and that's one of the things is there's all these groups of Christian nationalists, so they're not a monolith by any stretch of the imagination. There's all these groups. So, for instance, my background in Christian nationalism. So I don't have a background. The church and school, they were in the same denomination, was kind of half and half. There were people who believed in Christian nationalism. There were people that weren't. Luckily, my family was one of those that did not. And my partner did grow up in Christian nationalism, and his church and my church would not have gotten along, period. One thing I've seen too is, one example is his church would have been relatively fine with interracial couples. My school growing up, so it was all white. We had three or four black people max, and I was there from second grade to 10th grade. We had 4 max, maybe. And my best friend and the black kid in my class started dating. Adorable couple. They both got pulled into the office and was told that both of them would be expelled if they didn't split up. And he got expelled the next year. Anyway. That was just, and that's what I'm saying, is that these two, where even though these two groups would say, yes, we are Christian nationalists and swear all these tenets to the core, they're still not going to get along. And it's just like, it's going to be the biggest family bitch fight ever if they ever do all end up getting into a room together. But it's just not there yet.
Yeah, so is Project 2025 a Christian nationalism document?
Yes, absolutely. 100%. And that's the Christian nationalist thing that's written by the Christian nationalist Catholic extremists. So that one's pretty. I've read through that document more times than I care to admit. It's absurd. I mean, the stuff they want to do is, people don't realize how detrimental it is. Like, the groups of people that Trump and the Republicans were going after during the election are actually a fairly small minority. Meanwhile, our prices are through the roof, continue to go through the roof, and will continue to go through the roof simply because of the Republican policies. Like, it's just a shell and egg game with them. Like, or is that the right word? Show game? No, it's a show game. Sorry. It's a show game with them. That's all it is. That's all it's ever been. It was not fantastic during the Bush era, and there was a lot of fuckery in the Bush era, like a lot. But the amount that I've seen it ramped up to in the last 10 years kind of surprised even me. So,
Yeah, I
hey,
heard this all. I heard it. The, probably been on for a long time, but I heard that the major push of it began in the 1980s.
yeah, 1980s, 1970s with Jerry Falwell and the Moral Majority. The Moral Majority turned into Christian nationalism, at least in its current form. There's always been strains of it, and there's always been pockets of it and by another name and that kind of stuff, but it really started to ramp up in the 70s and 80s. If you notice, if you look all the way back to 1973, when Roe versus Wade came down, there wasn't that much pushback about it. There really wasn't. It wasn't until a couple years later that there was this huge backlash against abortion rights. And they ended up getting they ended up putting it into people's minds that women were doing this for birth control. If anyone knows the process or has had an abortion, it is not fun. It is not something you do for birth control. It is something you do as a last resort. A
Yeah,
lot of
yeah.
a
A lot
lot
of
of the
people are
yeah,
sorry. A lot of people are saying, like, if you're having if you're a baby, born a baby at 8 9 months, not because you felt like it changed your mind, it's because of medical reasons. Like, you know what,
mhm.
I kept it for 8 months, 9 months. You know what, I changed my mind now. I'm not doing it anymore.
Yeah, and honestly, that I have no problem. I mean, it's one of those things that, and you talk to doctors and you talk to nurses, and they say there is nobody coming in after 20 weeks who's like, yeah, I just don't want this kid. Because by the time, especially by the time you get like towards the last couple of months, it's like you've got names picked out, you've done the nursery, you at least have some idea of all this, you've thought about your baby's future, and then you find out, oh crap, it doesn't have this like essential organ that it needs, or it has this horrific disease that means it's only going to live like a couple weeks or even a couple hours, and it's going to be complete agony the whole time. As a mom, I like, me personally, there's no way I would do that, because I'm not going to do that to my kid. I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to force them to do that. And that's one thing that Christian nationalists want, is they want to force you to do it. Because they also, there is it was relatively famous for a while, and I've got it saved somewhere, but I need to find it. But it was a news article that someone was arguing abortion rights, and we're talking like pre-13-week abortion rights, uh with with someone online. And of course the guy kept doing like the stupid arguments that anyone who's ever been on the pro-choice side of anything has seen, and just kept knocking down the arguments one by one. Finally got the guy to admit that, yeah, it's a punishment for women. That's all it is. Punish the women for sleeping around. That's it. And it's like, you realize like that's not the case.
Yeah, especially when this happened in my state right after
Mm-hmm.
the overthrown, when that woman is a 10-year-old girl.
Yeah, I was in Indiana when that happened. So yeah, and it was big news because she flew over to Indiana. Here, if a doctor is found to have done it, and this is a DA deciding this, not a medical professional, but if a doctor is found to have provided an illegal abortion, they not only lose their medical license, they also are facing 99 years in prison. And I
That's
cannot, and here's the thing is like, I know people who have said, especially in other states, like, well, I don't care, I would do it anyway. And it's like, dude, if you're looking at not only your own livelihood, but all these other women you're taking care of, like, that's a hard choice to make. And I'm not in that position, and I don't know what the consequences for me or my patients would be if I was one of those doctors. So I'm not going to cast any shade on those doctors who say, hey, like, you're gonna have to go to another state. I can understand where they're coming from with that. Like, it's just like,
yeah,
and
Yeah, unless the states like
Texas,
they arrest you for going to other, let the state arrest you for going to other states.
yeah, they're trying to. Luckily, there's basically where you can go around the United States like without question if you're a U.S. citizen. Like anywhere in the U.S., you should be able to go. So there's there's a lot of. I know there's some court cases in the works, but I don't think that those are going to go anywhere. But we'll see.
Yeah, in 2023, Ohio voters passed both pro-choice for abortion and marijuana, but
Mm-hmm.
now the Ohio state government's like, you know what? They were wrong. We're going to fix this. We're going to rewrite that anyways. Even the voters wanted it. We don't care.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. Like marijuana is another good one. Is because not because they think marijuana is necessarily bad. I mean, my God, like if you look at like the states that have legalized tax and regulate it, it's doing great in those states. But the reason is because it's really helpful for selective enforcement. It's really it's really helpful for saying, oh, they have a joint, but they're cool, they can go. Or, oh, they have a roach in their car, arrest them all. Like, it's
Yeah.
really freaking useful for that. That is the only reason it's still around most of the places.
Yeah, and back to the states thing too. I said this before. They're they how they're all flip floppy. Like when
Mm-hmm.
the gay marriage thing passed in 2015, the people are like, let the states decide what they want. But when they states pass marijuana laws, they're like, it's a federal crime. The states get to decide. Like,
Yeah.
pick
Yeah.
a side.
It's what with the last, I guess, the last 10 to 15 years, because some of this happened under Obama too. A lot of what happened with all this has basically gone to show, and I'll also show a much more recent example, that they don't give two shits about their principles. They never did. Another one is now you've seen a lot of people with the Alex Freddie murder come up and say, dude, like, no, you can't tell us we can't have guns. But there's been plenty of people who said, like, well, he shouldn't have had a gun. I thought you guys were 2A all the way. Like, that in and of itself, like, as if I need any more proof, but that's just the nail in the coffin that these people never actually believed in anything. They never did. The one thing they claim to believe in, out the window the second it's inconvenient.
Yeah, it's only states' rights when you agree with me.
Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly what it is. And it's just like, yeah, it's terrible. It's like I don't know what there's the one thing I will say though is this has woken a lot of people up, and a lot of people have realized like, oh crap, like this was never about the economy, it's about all this other stuff going on. And the one thing I'm super proud about is like all the protests that have been happening. I mean, since the beginning of the Trump administration. In New York, when the No Kings protest had, I think, 100,000 protesters, not a single protester arrested. Is the protesters this time around fully understand that Trump is looking for an excuse to call the Insurrection Act, and they are not giving it to him. No one is giving him that excuse, no matter how much they want to or how much they would have every right to defend themselves. They're not doing it because they don't want to give them the excuse to do that. And it's just like, it's nice to see like people are seeing what's happening. They're like, we're not giving into this shit. Not here. So that's really heartening for me. I haven't seen that in 25 years of watching politics.
So, what got you into politics? I mean, what
Um,
made you that your YouTube?
it was the 2000 race. Actually, I was watching it because Bush was my governor at the time, and I was just like, oh, he's running, huh? Okay, I might want to. And I knew I would be voting in a couple years, so I decided to kind of pay attention to it, so I knew when I could vote. I kind of knew what I was getting into. and ended up getting a little too into it.
Yeah, 2000 was my first presidential election I could legally vote in.
hmm I could vote in the next one. Wait,
Yeah, I was 20 then,
yeah,
so I was voting
yeah,
age
I
for
was
2 years.
19. No, I was. What was that? Yeah, I was 19 when I voted. So I voted in the next one. I voted Democrat the entire time. So, um, but yeah, it's one of those things that that it it's always appeared as lesser of two evils, but to me, and it's just become more glaringly obvious over the years that there is very it is a lesser of two evils, but one side is objectively worse than the other. And one is, now we know, actively covering up pedophiles.
Yeah,
Like,
is
they're actively doing it.
yeah, yeah. I also heard something that I don't know if it's true or not, but a few years ago, so, so, someone said somebody that was a conservative like 50 years ago we consider a moderate or liberal nowadays, and now
um,
today's.
yeah, like, I know some people who I would consider conservative, but they're like Nixon conservatives. Like, keep in mind, Nixon is the one who started the EPA. Yeah, he had a ton of pressure to do it, but he still did it. Trump literally just had the EPA claim climate change is not a problem. And it's like, in my lifetime, I've seen how the summers have gone here from we would have had a few days over 100, like nothing horrendous, but we would have had a few, to now we'll have 60 days over 100 with no rain and everything will be scorched. So
Uh,
it's yeah,
you mean
it's
Mr.
madness.
You mean Mr. got an award for coal recently?
hmm Yeah. And it's just it's absolute bonkers. It cracks me up on how people pretty much every and okay, here's another example of exactly how conservatives are going to the liberal side. There's been David Jolly, who was hardcore into the Tea Party, is running for the Democrat governor of Florida now. Like, is he as liberal as I would like? No. Yes, I gave Dr. Kip treats. She is sitting directly under me right now. By the way, for anybody that doesn't know, yes, there is the biblical scholar Dr. Kip. There is also a dog Dr. Kip, and I have the dog Dr. Kip. um but anyway, David Jolly is running for the Democratic governorship of Florida right now, which, yes, he's not as liberal as I would like, but whatever. There's people like Adam Kinzinger, who was rock red Republican, but he calls himself a Democrat now. There's all these people who were old school, and you could even say like Bush Republicans. They're like, fuck this shit, I'm out, I'm a Democrat. And they're not
Yeah,
just Georgia, the lieutenant governor of Georgia is like, I might be a new Democrat and I'm not a reluctant Democrat, like I am here.
yeah. It's not
And
everyone, but I heard people who said they hated Bush in his 8 years, but then Trump kind of like that. So they miss Bush because that's how
I am one of those
different.
people that I would very grudgingly, and I would hate to do it, but I'd take Bush over Trump. Because at least Bush, I knew what he was going to do, and I knew what there was, but also I wasn't worried about, like, I wasn't worried about him nuking someone. I am worried
Yeah,
about Trump being so unhinged that
yeah,
he's just like, where's that button?
yeah. I think it wasn't until I think Iraq he divided the country, but before that, even my dad, who was a Democrat and stuff, even he had a flag up on after 9/11. Even he had a flag up on his window and stuff.
Yeah,
And
and yeah, 9/11. And here's the thing with 9/11. And 9/11 was, I mean, that was a national thing. And it's like, I have like, you are never going to see me making fun of 9/11 ever. There were almost 3,000 Americans killed that day. It was a horrific day. And regardless of what the US had done before, like, we didn't deserve that. There's plenty of crap that we've done since then that we absolutely should not have done. But yeah, like 9/11 was horrible. And I mean, I have a little bit of an issue with anybody who celebrates it, to be honest, because like I
Yeah,
know people who were in New York.
yeah. I think I think about 99%, 98% of the people were all for going. I could be wrong that for going. We're going to Afghanistan. And people were like, yeah, do it. Then like, let's go for Iraq. Like, wait
Yeah,
a minute, why we're going to Iraq for again?
yeah. Iraq, I was very skeptical because I didn't think we had great information on that to begin with. But sorry, Kip is whiny if you can hear her. Um, but I don't think we had great information on that to begin with, and then um, with Afghanistan, I can understand the logic behind it. I really don't agree with how it was executed. I can
Yeah,
kind of see the "let's go get them" though kind of thing. Like I said, doesn't mean I agree with it, but
yeah,
I can
yeah,
understand the mindset behind it. Um, and of course, that ended up being a complete shit show, which they should have kind of looked at history and figured out like nothing in that area ever ends well. So why the hell would this end well? But yeah, and Christian nationalists, for instance, that kind of circle back to the topic, Christian nationalists try to use 9/11 to get all Muslims kicked out of the country. And some places it worked to just like ramp up the Islamophobia. Other places, not so much. There was one place, for instance, there was one place in Texas that a mosque got burned down. And the first people offering help and offering their building for worship was the Jewish synagogue down the street. They were the first people that were like, let us help you. And so not everybody's like that. I personally, I don't like religion. I will fight against religion every single day. But somebody, like, you don't go burning down stuff just because you don't like
yeah.
it.
And they don't agree with anything either. Like I think that I can't be. I don't know much about them. But they have as much division in their religion than we do in the
Yeah.
Christian side.
Yeah, they do. I mean, you think Christianity has 43,000 denominations. My mom is Christian. And so I was talking to her about it because she's conservative and she's like, I don't get what this whole Christian nationalist thing is. And I was like, look, the thing is Christian nationalists, and I was like, you think a Christian theocracy wouldn't be so bad, right? And she's like, it could possibly be okay. And I said, okay, but what if the people who get in are not your flavor of Christianity and want other things that you don't believe? Like, what if the Mormons get in, or the Jehovah's Witness, or the Catholics, people that you don't agree with, and they're suddenly telling you that you have to worship exactly like they do? And she's like, oh. I'm like, yeah. And she's like, yeah, that's not good. As it's so, protecting the First Amendment with freedom of religion and also freedom of religion, I said, it protects you just as much as it protects me. Plain and simple.
Yeah, it's all good when it's all good when your branch is in office, but when your branch isn't in office, then
Exactly. It's ridiculous. I mean, a lot of people who want this don't understand that the people who are hyping up their version of Christian nationalists is not their version of Christian nationalists. Really? I'm sorry. Hang on one second. My dog's just knocked everything off my desk. Really, girls?
like it wants his own. She wants her own camera.
Yeah, I need to get. I've been told more than once I need to get a puppy cam, And I'm planning on reorganizing my office pretty much as soon as it's warm enough and not raining. I was going to do it today, but it's been rainy and stuff, and I have to move some of my stuff outside, so I have room to move stuff around.
It's
So,
like when people say, you can't pray in school anymore. You totally can, because I used to bring my Bible to school and read it on study hall, and no one stopped me from doing it. This is like in the 90s, you know, no one stopped me from doing it. It's just, they can't make you do it, but you still can. You can pray for lunch if you want. You can do whatever you want to.
Okay.
No, the teachers can't force you. That's the thing. The teachers can't make you do it.
Yeah. When I was a senior in high school, so I was not Christian. I wasn't Christian at the time. I was other religion, but I had gotten into a bit of it wasn't a heated debate, but it wasn't necessarily friendly. It was a civil debate, let's put it that way, with somebody that I know about Christianity and all that stuff. And the teacher shut it down like with impunity because she's like, "You're not allowed to discuss that here." Yes, I am. You are just not allowed to take a side. That's all there is to it. And like, I have mixed feelings on having, quote unquote, a moment of silence. Like, me personally, I don't like it because I know what it represents. But at the same time, like, my son, who's an atheist, is like, I don't have a problem with it. It gives me, 5 minutes to, fuck off and do whatever I want. So, I think that's a little bit more questionable. And I have no problem, ironically, with them having the Bible in school because not as a religious thing, but like as like a literature thing, because it is so influential in our society. You might want to know where some of this stuff comes from, but there is a way to approach it academically and not religiously. And unfortunately, most grade school teachers through high school are not equipped to do that. You don't get that kind of stuff until you get into college. So,
yeah, is that why Trump wants to eliminate education departments?
Yeah, because he wants to pass it off to the states, which, keep in mind, most states can't do it on their own. What they want to do, and this goes back to Christian nationalism, this is part of it, is they want to do vouchers where they say, okay, well, just for example, and I don't recall the exact numbers, but they're like, okay, well, all of these students, each student gets $10,000. They can go to any school they want. Now, if they want to go to the public school, fine. Excuse me, I'm talking. If they want to go to the public school, they can, and the $10,000 would go there. But what happens if you only have half the district show up and go there? The school district only has half the money they would normally have. Or you could have private schools that do not teach science correctly, do not teach history correctly, do not teach anything correctly, and they get the same amount of money. And then there's also there was a really good series in 2024 that came out. It was called 2025, and it was by David Pepper, and it was a series of short stories. And they also did audiobooks. I want to say it was on Resolute Square on YouTube. But it was really good because it was like basically a series of short stories, and they had a whole bunch of celebrities and stuff read them and voice them on what the potential outcomes to these could happen if these policies are enacted. And in education, one thing they had was people like librarians getting charged with crimes because of the books they had in their library. Another thing they had is where someone had pulled their kid out of public school to send them to a private school that's like, hey, your voucher check is enough.
Is that a pay attention to me whine, or I need to go use the bathroom whine?
That's a pay attention to me whine. She gets like this when I start talking. Come here. Come here.
But yeah,
Here.
I just
Are
figured
you done?
it was so the future generations were too dumb to figure out what he's doing. That's why he went
Yeah.
with the education.
And one of the stories in this was a family that decided to send their kid to private school, and it ends up that it's like one of these just like pop-up schools. Think of kind of like a for-profit college thing where they're like, your voucher money is all you need. And they literally just have the kids sitting there doing workbooks all day because there's no requirements for like teachers and stuff. And that's essentially what they want. They want to essentially they want to destroy the education system, because if you look at a lot of a lot of people who get out of Christian nationalism, one of the number one things is education. Whether it's secular education or them just reading the damn Bible for the first time.
Yeah,
Education
one
is
of
the
my
first
nieces
thing.
was in private school and with the college, and she had no idea what geology was. She had took a class and like what's she felt like because they didn't teach geology in private school, so she was like way
Yeah.
behind.
I literally had to teach my okay, so I went in high school. I was in private school in 9th grade, 10th grade, had biology, which completely skipped over evolution. We had an hour and a half like DI approved like lecture. And then I skipped my junior year and went straight to my senior year in public school. I had to completely teach myself biology in public school just so I could keep up with the science class that I was currently doing. And I had to completely relearn biology. There was of course a ton of things with physics that I had to teach myself, especially like with the universe and stuff, and geology that I was not taught. And it wasn't because surprising, it's one of those things. It's like, it's not because like obviously I was stupid growing up, because
Yeah.
I wasn't. It's just you don't know what you're not taught when you're 14.
And the funny thing is, it's hard enough to keep up with science and stuff in regular school sometimes, because when I was growing up in school, we still had the 5 kingdom of life for protost, bacteria, fungus, plants, and animals, and then the 5 groups of that were reptile, birds, fish, mammals, and amphibians. And now I know it's more like all a nested thing, weird hierarchies and stuff. But even then, and this is a public school, we don't know what we didn't know now. But in private school, they know even less.
I mean, that's the amazing thing about science is, of course, science does, and this is also something that the science deniers claims proves science isn't true, is science keeps changing. It keeps changing because it keeps getting better and it keeps correcting itself. So it gets more and more correct the more it goes. Like there was a ton, I mean, physics alone has changed just like tremendously in the last like 10 years. There are some areas of research in biology and medicine and stuff that I've been keeping up on, that the research on it has just like skyrocketed, and it's just like amazing, the research and the stuff that we know now that we didn't know 10 years ago. But that's one of the things that's one of the things they use is science is always changing, so science never knows what it's doing. It's just throwing shit at the wall. That's
one of the reasons why I was, when people were like all about the 2020 when the vaccine came out, they're like, it came out too fast, it's
I wish that those companies would have done a much better job of explaining the history of how the vaccine got there.
Even before I knew that, I was like, look, 20 years ago, we thought a 5 gigabyte hard drive was amazing in a computer. Like 5 gigabytes, oh my god, that's so much room. Now like 5 gigabytes barely hold enough room for your phone. It's like technology has improved in 20 years. No wonder, so medical technology in 20 years, we got stuff faster. That's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, like with the vaccine, people knows it's a SARS virus. If people remember, about 25 years ago, there was a SARS outbreak. in China, in Hong Kong, and it killed several people, and then it went over to Canada and killed like 4 people in Canada. It might have been more. I'm sorry if I don't remember the numbers, but the thing is that the Bush administration and the Obama administration said we might want to look into this just in case, and pharmaceutical companies started doing the same thing. They had come out with a vaccine for it, with the MNRA vaccine, that they basically use for the COVID vaccine. And so when the new one came out, they were able to modify it real quick to protect against COVID. The technology was already there. It was just they had to tweak a couple little things, and then bam, we got the vaccine. I mean, and the thing is, it's like, yeah, the science behind it was amazing, but this isn't something that was developed by the seat of their pants. This has been in development for 20 fucking years.
It's also, I think, I could be wrong. I think that the anti-vaxxers switch sides, but for the longest time, I always thought anti-vaxxers were like the far left crystal people. You know, like
they were. There were a lot of them. To be fair, there were okay. So before all this started, there was kind of like there were people on both sides. There were people on the Christian nationalist side who were anti-vax, who believed the Alex Jones crap, and there were also people on the far left.
Yeah, to me, the far right people were more like the until COVID happened. They're more like the. They're more like the let's pray. Doctors are stupid. Let's pray. Power of prayer will help us now.
Yeah, and they were. People. And I mean, there's plenty of people on the far woo left that were anti-vaxxers too. But the thing is that I think there's been enough of. I think there was enough with COVID for people to really see what a pandemic can do, and for it to scare some people, at least some people on the woo left, out of it. But at the same time, it kind of strengthened everything on the right as well, and it dragged some people from the left over to the right. I know several people that happened to, and it was freaking bizarre to watch. It was bizarre to watch them be really far left and then boomerang around to the right. So,
you think? Yeah, I think the pandemic made some people dumber rather than smarter.
Yeah, it did. And the thing is that the Christian nationalists, like the guys at the top who are in charge of all this shit, they're fine with people being dumb as rocks. So. Yeah, it's just it's ridiculous. I don't really have a problem with the do your own research if and only if you have the ability and the capability to do your own research and understand what you're reading. If you don't, leave it to the experts. There are not that many who fit into that category, though.
Yeah, like I hear in chat, they're talking about. I think we had during the Obama's term, maybe Bush term, we had the bird flu and other stuff that happened there, pandemics that no one
Ebola
really knew anything about because we handled them.
We had Ebola. We had Ebola in Dallas, and Dallas is where I lived then, and I still live close to. And it was just like there was some panic with some people, but most people were like, okay. Because it was really well handled. It was really well handled because as soon as they realized, oh crap, it's here, everybody knew like the warning signs and knew what to watch out for and stuff. And yeah, they had some real. Now, granted, Ebola cannot spread like COVID can. It is incredibly infectious, but it's harder to spread than people think it is. So it was one of those things though that was kind of like. They should have been warnings of if something like a flu gets going. One of the things that we actually got lucky with COVID is that COVID didn't mutate as fast as the flu does. If it was a flu that did this, we'd all be screwed. But
yeah, it's funny. When it first happened, I was still under the hope, that maybe it'd be like a measles vaccine, one and done. Like,
Yeah.
but then it
And
mutated like
I've
3 or 4 times.
yeah, I've got all my vaccines and I've had COVID twice already. And it has knocked me on my ass both times. First time around I had heat stroke in the middle of it too, which, oh my god, it caused some major complications. And I had it not yeah, I guess it was this past spring, and it damn near killed me this last time. And I'm fully
Yeah.
vaccinated.
Yeah, I'm just glad the 1 or 2 times I did get COVID was post-vaccine. I didn't get it pre-vaccine.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's one thing that I hate about with my dad is that the vaccines were coming out for testing right around the time my dad got it. And he had it he held out for 3 weeks, but couldn't hold out, so
Yeah, that joke, like before this happened, there was that autism thing. Vaccines give you autisms, and I
yeah.
told them I'd rather have autism than polio.
Yeah. I mean, it's like sitting there saying, like, there's something, horrific about autism, and like there's not. Like, there's and I'll tell you this, like, so I have the big YouTube channel that I work for, I run the Discord. I swear half the people on there are neurodivergent in some way or another, including myself. There is nothing wrong with us.
Yeah,
We
and
just
then the
see the
new
world
one,
and think differently.
and when COVID happened, people are all like, they're giving you microchips in your blood. The vaccines are giving you microchips.
How? And
And I told them, I doubt that, but even if they were, I'd rather have that than a tube down my throat because I can't
one
breathe.
of my favorite comedians made the point of even if they're putting microchips in your blood, why you? Like, are you a secret agent spy or something? No, you fold shirts at TJ Maxx. Why you? I mean, it's like, and it's completely ignoring all the information that we give to companies every single day for free on the internet. It's madness. It's absolute madness.
And why do Christian nationalisms, are they all? I think they're all of them, but are the majority of them anti-vax?
It kind of depends. It's there's a lot of flavors. A lot of them, some I know are, most that I've seen, or at least in my area, are more skeptical. They're more like, well, be careful with that. Like, and they're cautious about it. They're not just outright anti-vax. I do know several who are outright anti-vax, and I know some that are just like, no, the childhood vaccines are fine. So it's hit or miss. This is what I was saying. Like, there's some that
Oh yeah, that's the other thing is I lost lots of friends during COVID because they're like, I'm not anti-vax, I'm just anti-COVID vax.
Yeah, which that was one of the first times that I really put my foot down on, I'm not even going to try to salvage this relationship at this point. Just because I mean, of course, like, I was angry about my dad, and to be fair, like, I'm still angry about it. It's just my anger at this point is directed where it should be. And like I said, I mean, my dad would have probably passed within a couple of years anyway, but I definitely got at least a year of time with my dad stolen, at least. And I will never forgive the Republicans for that. I can't. I won't. And people might be like, well, it's not okay to hold on to anger. Sometimes it fuels you, and it fuels you to do good. So.
Yeah, I got bullied in school for rumors and stuff, and now I'm like, it helps me defend other people.
Yeah.
Who are actually prosecuted for being, like, there's a rumor that I was gay in school, and bullied for 2 years straight, and I was even.
Mm-hmm.
But so now I help people who actually are, because they're going through worse than I am.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, like I was, as far as I know, I'm I'm one of, if not the only person I know that I would have been, because I got out of there before graduation. But out of that Christian school, out of that graduating class, that's an atheist. I'm the only one that I know of. And I'm just like, my God, like they got their hooks so far into them. That's just, it's crazy. Yeah, they would have a reason to track everyone, but the thing is they don't even have to try to, because everybody's on their damn phones all the time. And I've been asked, speaking of that, like I've been asked, because Christian nationalism is definitely connected with Musk and Teal and all them and all the AI guys. But I've been also asked about AI on whether I think it's a good or bad thing. It's a tool. Like science, you can use nuclear physics for power, you can use it for medicine, for cancer research and getting rid of cancers and stuff. You can also blow up cities with it. It's a tool. It depends on how you use it. It is not good or bad in and of itself. I've seen AI do some really cool stuff and some really useful things. I've also seen it do some absolutely horrific shit.
Yeah, same with the internet. It can be used to spread disinformation. It can be used to spread real information.
And you know what? They said that about the printing press too. They said that about the radio. They said that about TV. That this is evil, or no, this is the best thing ever. No, it's a tool. It's how you use it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's there that people don't realize that Christian nationalists, like at least one of the prominent Christian nationalists, have their finger in just about everything across the country right now. So it's important that people are aware of it.
Yeah, it's already. You think it's different now than it was in the 80s, or is it the same?
Yes,
that was
it's much more blatant. They have much more power, because the thing is that there's a lot of the billionaires and the richer influencers. Now, the cool thing about, like I said, this being a tool with the internet, the cool thing about the influencer thing is you get some influencers who are fantastic, and what gives a lot of people in this community the ability to jump online and we can share our opinions and all that stuff. But then you also get people like Joe fucking Rogan. But you also get people like Kyle Kalinske, who are solidly on the left and pretty good on most things. Yeah. So it's a tool, but it's just, for some reason, the right-wing manosphere has just exploded over the past 5 years.
And also, I think a few years ago, it was like, I forget how long ago it was, but I learned there's a difference between American conservatives and everyone else conservatives.
Yeah, we're the insane ones. If you take our standard Democrats, like not the far left ones and not the centrist Democrats, but you take like the kind of in the middle ones, they are all what would be considered conservative anywhere else. Our Overton window is shifted so far to the right.
Yeah, me and my dad were watching one of those Michael Moore documentaries before he passed away. You know, about the this one was about the health insurance. You know, they're talking about how in Canada this guy was talking about free health care. You know, and all this stuff. And the guy is like, "What are you, a Democrat, a liberal?" Like, no, I'm a conservative.
Yeah. But the funny thing about conservatives, and this is something that I've known that always makes me laugh, is you can always find, if you sit down with them most of the time and go issue by issue, they're absolutely a liberal. Absolutely. Like their policy positions and where they stand on individual issues puts them squarely in the liberal circle. But you ask them as a whole, they'll say, "Oh no, I'm a conservative."
It's
Okay.
funny, like like if you compare like Trump to a Christian, I bet he doesn't believe half the things they believe in. He's using it for
Mm-hmm.
the vote.
Yeah, it's the thing about um theoretically with Kyle Kulinski. Um yeah, I've known Kyle for 14, 15 years. So um one of the things about that I've seen, especially the last couple of weeks, because like I said, I follow this stuff on. I'm neck deep in this stuff all day long. I personally have um 2 political shows. I do one on Thursdays, one on Sundays, so I'm always following this stuff. Is even the Manosphere guys have been slowly starting to pull away, and now they are starting to backtrack like mad. Not only are
Yeah.
they losing viewership because they're crap, but they're also like, I just realized I defended Trump in the Epstein files. What the hell?
Yeah, and like back in 2020, the pandemic again, at the same time the pandemic was happening, it was also the BML protest, right?
Yeah.
And then I remember how one of the things was Trump gassed a church, people at protest at a church, probably
Mm-hmm.
Christians themselves, so he could hold the fellowship with the Bible upside down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He holds it upside down. And the funny thing is, if you watch it, you can tell he's never held a Bible before. And I'm actually I'm actually trying to plan out a video of all the time Trump has mentioned anything like Christian related. That just shows that he has no idea what he's talking about. My all-time favorite is 2 Corinthians. I don't know any Christian that says 2 Corinthians. Not one. And that he never asked for forgiveness. Oh my god, dude, like you are so obviously not a Christian. What is wrong with you?
Yeah, it's I still can't believe that some people who think he's the second coming of Christ almost.
Yeah. And with the with the people who are Christian nationalists, like just the regular people, they might think that. The people who are running this, they know damn well he's not. And they don't care. It's a means to an end. Like that's all it is. It's a means to an end. He thinks that he can give them the control that they need to control society. And they're running with it.
Yeah, it's funny. 2020 was
There's a reason Vance is his VP. Vance is a Christian nationalist, but
oh yeah,
he's the far Catholic side. So,
and he's from my state.
mm-hmm.
Yay!
Remember, he said that Trump was America's Hitler, and he was right when he said that. He was. I mean, I followed this. Like I said, I followed the rise of Trump, and I was screaming in 2015 that from the moment he came down on that golden escalator, dude, this guy is terrible. This is the kind of shit he's gonna do. And
Yeah,
he
even for
frankly,
that,
yeah, he proved me right
he's
that
the
first
one who
weekend.
birth certificates this and birth certificates that for
Yeah.
8 years.
Yeah, he proved me right that first weekend with the Muslim ban. Like, straight up. And now there's something like 40 something countries on the ban list. Like, it's insane. It's ridiculous. And it's all black and brown countries. All of them. Like, there's a ton of people that it's like, that are pretty much taking bets on how long it's going to take for him to just slip up and say a slur in the middle of like some of either a post or a speech or something. It's just a matter of time. The dude is so racist.
Of course, it's not like this a new thing because I remember back when Eastern Europe's were then their white people were less desirable than the Western Europe people.
Yeah, and the thing is that if you are American, no matter where your family came from, at some point your original ethnicity was not wanted here. There were times where English weren't even wanted here. I mean, there's some point where you were not wanted here. There were times Germans weren't wanted here, Irish weren't wanted here, and it's
Chinese.
yeah. Oh yeah, Chinese absolutely. Obviously Japanese, just everybody. I mean, and of course we shoved the Native Americans off their lands. Like, we do not have a good track record of treating people equally in this country, even though we're
It's funny.
supposed to
I
be.
made a joke once about how how the Mexicans are coming up America. I made a joke like we don't need like where's the Canadian wall preventing us going to Canada because we're all going to Canada.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, and the thing is like this. This also kind of links back to national history, Christian nationalism, and education. One thing, because of course I live in Texas, so they've been in charge of education here for 30 years, but we're required to take Texas history in 7th grade, and I was also required to take it in college. But in neither place were we told why Texas wanted to separate from Mexico. It's because Mexico was abolishing slavery, and Texans wanted to keep their slaves. That's the reason. And unfortunately, we won that one.
Yeah, and they weren't you an independent country for like 10 years or something too?
Yeah, we were an independent country for 9 years. And we were also owned by the French and the Spanish, the Confederacy, and the U.S. So if you ever see Six Flags, it started in Texas, Six Flags over Texas, because we've had Six Flags. It's crazy. Texas
So
is weird.
the names of these protests thing. Is it the Christian nationalism one like one monarchy or something or dictatorship? Is that do they want
Yeah,
that?
they want a Christian theocracy. Which, if that means a dictatorship, which it does basically mean a dictatorship. I mean, they want a Christian theocracy. They want what they have over in Saudi Arabia and Iran and all that, except they want the Christian version of it.
It's
And I mean, yeah, like there's, I mean, I've seen, and I've also read a couple of like alternate fiction books on like what would happen if Christian nationalists get in. And the thing is that now like reality is starting to be crazier than the fiction I've read.
yeah, it's funny. One thing I hear a lot about is how they're being prosecuted in this
Mm-hmm.
country, and Christians are being
Yeah,
prosecuted in this country, and I'm like, go there for go. And I told them go over the Saudi Arabia or some of the Muslim countries over there and see how you're prosecuted then for
yeah,
being a Christian.
and they want to sit there and say like atheists are taking over everything. No, we're not. Like we're not. Like it's one of those things. And like I said, my biggest point to people here who are conservative or Republican but are not Christian nationalists, there is thankfully still some distinction between some of them, is that my freedom from your religion also protects your freedom of religion. Because, like, for instance, the church that my family comes from is a fairly small denomination. It's not really like, I remember there were times where we go on vacation and we didn't even bother trying to find a church because we knew we weren't going to find one in whatever town we were in unless we were with family. So it's not like oh, the Baptists are going to take over. Well, what if the Methodists take over? What if the Catholics take over? What if the Mormons take over? Because growing up, I was basically taught straight up that Mormons were about as bad as you could get. I was taught that Mormons were just as bad as atheists. Because they, quote unquote, changed the Bible. So, but the thing that you see with Christian nationalism in the fact that it's a means to an end is they were willing to throw everything they had behind Mitt Romney who is a Mormon. They were willing to throw everything behind him in order to try and get into the positions where they could take over. And then they would have thrown him out. I have no doubt about that.
Mm-hmm. It's funny, like I talked earlier about how bad his last vice president was compared to his new vice president, and he's like almost night and day almost. Because
both Christian nationalists.
Yeah, because once he says, once the old one said, "Nah, I'm gonna follow the rule," they're like, "Let's hang him."
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of that, yeah, I mean, they were both, because the thing is like, there's no loyalty among, just like there's no loyalty among thieves, there's no loyalty among Christian nationalists. If you do something that they don't want, they will throw you out in a heartbeat. And they did that to Mike Pence. And Mike Pence was probably the most Christian nationalist president vice president we had in at least in my lifetime. It was like, yeah, he really concerned me when he got into office. It was disturbing, some of the stuff that he was pushing for, but he could have done more, which he didn't, thankfully. But now Trump's in office. He is obviously demented, and he's letting everybody else run his policy for him, which basically means the Christian nationalists have full reign. Like, Trump is not coming up with his immigration policy on his own. It's all Stephen Miller. All of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In 2024, I'm like, when all this happened, because I was like, we're cutting down the wire now. It's like, come on, we got to hold on for 2 years. And hopefully in 2 years, at least we'll get control of either the Senate or the House again. Maybe we can balance stuff out.
Here's the thing. There is a non-zero chance. I'm not saying it's a good chance, but there's a non-zero chance that Democrats will control the House before the elections. Because there was something that somebody said, that they said, watch for the primaries after all the filing deadlines, and if Republicans are not being challenged by primaries, or if they win their primaries, some of them will start turning on Trump. That's happened. Or there's going to be more than a few that are just like, fuck this, I'm out, and either waiting out their term or just quitting.
Yeah, it's funny that even the psycho, what was her name, from Georgia?
Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah, even she was like,
yeah, exactly. And the thing is,
she's crazy on her own right, and he's like, that's too far.
And every single, pretty much every single special election that's been held since then, like since Trump got into office, the Democrat has massively outperformed. Even if they lost, they massively outperformed what they should. And it's been an absolute shutout the last few special elections that there's been. I mean, they did a 31-point flip in Texas, and I know that district, and I know how conservative that district is, and it was a 31-point flip. I think the one in Louisiana was like closer to a 40-point flip. It was insane. People are sick of this shit, and I've said this on a few places, but I think what happened is, I think that the Christian nationalists and Trump and the Trumpists basically realized this is our last chance to get what we want. And I think they went a little too hard and too fast. If they would have slowed what they've done thus far over 3 years,
like
and
more
let it be
subtly
a slow build
than
up,
obviously.
Yeah. I think they would have had a lot more success, but there's been so much, because there was the Epstein files and then the ICE murders and all this stuff all in one real short period of time. And people are like, I'm sick of this. Like, this is crap. I'm done. So
was it you? I forget which team it was. I think it might have been yours with and Joe's, where I made that thing about, I made a post about how they want to have ID for voting, but then they make it gain ID is impossible to do.
Yeah, it might have been. Yeah, they make it impossible. Okay, so for instance, my son had to take a test and had to do some stuff to get his driver's license, and he signed up, and Texas had done this in COVID to where you had to sign up online and then you could go in on your appointment and get your license. They never undid that, and they never really allowed for walk-ins. They only allow walk-ins in special circumstances. So you can't just walk in and do it. Well, he had signed up to go get the final stuff done for his license in, I think it was mid-January. They didn't have an appointment until April. So it's like, I mean, what are you supposed to do if there's an election in the meantime? You know,
I
it's
mentioned free that we voted to pass legalization for marijuana and abortion.
mm-hmm.
Uh, in August of that year, they had a special election out of nowhere to try to change the Constitution, because right now it's, if it passes over 50% vote, it passes. They're trying to make it to like 60% or 2/3 vote. So the majority, they need more majority to get it. That one failed, so it stayed at 50%, which is why the marijuana and abortion thing passed in November.
Yeah.
And no one, I didn't know what was happening until I walked down the street one time. I saw a sign that says "Vote yes for this" or "Vote no for that," right next to each other. They are posting 2 yards. I'm like, "What's this?" I'm like, I learned they're having this election in August just because of that. It's like,
I mean,
not
I make
at all.
I make it a point that here, at least, whenever there's a proposition like that, they have to put the whole text of the proposition like on the voting, like on the ballot. And even though I know what side I'm on those issues, I still make it a point to read it because they like fucking with the language sometimes.
Yeah,
and there's times where it's like, vote no for this, when actually you really should be voting yes. No.
I think they do that on purpose. Like,
yeah, they do. They do. That's why. And that's why they make getting IDs in general harder or more expensive. It's just a way to keep people from voting. Because in elections, especially the lower the turnout, historically, the better the Republicans have done. And they need every single advantage they can get right now. They are just they're hurting for votes right now in everywhere.
Yeah, I think they passed a few years ago. I think I got one that they changed the IDs now. You have to have a certain ID to get on a plane now.
Yeah, it's the real ID, which they had actually originally they had decided to do that in, I want to say it was mid 2020, and they actually delayed it a year because of COVID, because people couldn't get IDs. But yeah, now you have to have a real ID. Most states, it's pretty easy to get a real ID. It usually involves just taking your birth certificate and social security to prove you're a citizen.
Yeah, that was for me. That was to get a regular one. I had to bring that plus my bank statement, my job check thing, and all this other stuff tue. I like 4 or 5 different things besides the thing. Get my
luckily
ID.
I didn't need any of that. I just need my I just need my birth certificate and my social security card.
Oh, God. What I'm worried about is the new thing we had to get. I think I heard rumors you get a passport now to vote.
They were trying to do that. What they're trying to do, okay, so this is important. The SAVE Act. They're trying to get the SAVE Act passed in Congress, which it could potentially, I kid you not, prevent married women from voting. Because your name on your driver's license does not match the name on your birth certificate because you got married and changed your name. One way to get around that is to have a passport. But here's one of the cool things. So there's a regular passport that costs like 160 or whatever it is. But then there's one that's like $30 that you can get. It's a passport card. And it grants you access to, I think, Mexico and Canada, and I think some places in the Caribbean. I'm not sure, but like you can, but apparently, like that counts for that. And I know people who are using that, like, for instance, I know people who are frankly white as can be, but they have a Spanish last name. They are scared enough of ICE to carry those passport cards on them to prove they're citizens simply because of their last name. That is the kind of fear that ICE is inspired.
Like, but I bet you if they try to like pull that ID, they're like, reach for a gun, let's kill him.
Yeah. I mean, the excuses I've seen defending ICE are some of the most bullshit excuses I've ever seen in my life. It's just, I've seen them defend a whole lot of nasty stuff, but this is just absurd.
What do you say about the people who say, but the other presidents deported more people than Trump's been deporting?
The difference is that, and yeah, there were mistakes made there, and trust me, like so my stance on immigration is, if you're here and you're not causing any problems, what's the problem? Like, if you're not committing crimes and you're not doing like shady shit, then what's the problem? But if someone is, and I don't know anybody who's arguing that violent criminals should stay in should be allowed to stay. I don't know anybody who's arguing that, left, right, or center. Like, if someone is a murderer, like, yeah, like I would prefer them serve their sentence. But like, if they did a violent bank robbery, for instance, let them serve their sentence and deport them. I have no problem with that. None. But if it is just a regular guy working his job, what's the problem? Especially if it's one of those jobs that it's really hard to get Americans to do. There are some jobs that, especially like agricultural jobs, and there's been multiple studies on this, to where they will try to hire Americans. Not that many Americans show up for the pay, which pay should be raised anyway, but that's another issue. But not that many would show up for the pay, and then most of them, if not all of them, would have quit by the end of the week.
I heard the story about where the ICE people pulled over a foreign looking like a American military guy that looked Spanish or whatever. And during the middle of a crisis or something, like try to arrest him for being foreigner.
I've got a better one than that. So I had a friend of mine who was on DACA, right? She was brought here when she was 2 by her mother. Had no idea she was undocumented until she went to college, tried to get student loans, and couldn't get student loans because she was undocumented. She looks as all-American as I do, had no accent. The only thing that might tip anybody off that she might not be American is her first name was, I still hear it in America all the time, it's just not super common. That's the only thing. She didn't even speak her native language until about 5 years ago. She has no idea where her family's from in that country, no idea what her family name in that country is, knew almost nothing about the country until she found out that is where she was from. And her mom died, so she can't go ask her mom. They picked her up and deported her in, it was either late March or early April. Just picked her up and literally, they flew her from Dallas to El Paso, and then from El Paso back to her home country. Her husband was here, and luckily they had a very wealthy friend who was able to get everything and get her husband to go over there to meet her, and now they're living in Paris. And they're like, fuck it, we're never coming back.
Yeah. It's like, there's this other thing where this teacher tried to import, like, she had a kindergarten student, and he's trying to deport her parents because the kindergarten kid was like foreigner, like kindergarten. He was born in America, but their parents weren't. It's like, nope, let's deport.
And the thing is that you're either forced to deport an American citizen, or you're splitting up a family, and they don't give a shit. There was actually a memo that was released, I want to say it was on the last day of 2025. There's been multiple reports about it that basically said that they were trying to deport 100 million American. They were trying to deport 100 million people in the U.S. There are not 100 there's not 100 million foreign-born non-U.S. citizens here. Sorry, there's just not. You're going to deport.
Yeah.
They've tried deporting Native Americans. Like, holy shit, dude! You need to be deported before them.
Yeah, it's like back when the term first started, there was all this talk about him trying to repeal the 14th Amendment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even though if you're born in this country, you're not really a citizen anymore.
Yeah, which I do not. That ain't gonna fly. Like, it's not. It's just it's absolute bonkers. And like I said, I mean the entire immigration like policy of this White House is being run by one person. It's being run by Stephen Miller.
Yeah,
which of all people should know, like, no, you don't do that kind of shit. And by the way, Miller's entire family has disowned him. So there is that.
I know it's I think the same thing happened to RFK Jr.'s family.
Yeah. His entire family disowned him. And I mean, it's one of those things that, like, I mean, trust me, the Kennedy family has plenty to be pissed off about, because, like, even with the Kennedy Center, like, that was immemorial. And then Trump comes out whenever everybody starts canceling because they're like, we're not going to participate in this crap. He's just like, well, fuck it, then we're just going to tear it down. He admitted, like, the other week, yeah, we're just going to tear it down. So.
Oh, God. You think it can get worse, and then it does.
Trust me, there's plenty out there that, like I said, I am neck deep in this stuff all day long. I am constantly scanning the news. I am constantly scanning all the independent media I can get my hands on, and I still miss stuff. I mean, you cannot keep on top of every little thing. You just can't. Like, if someone told me not too long ago, they're like, well, I'm pretty on top of it. I'm like, yeah, what's happening with the Small Business Bureau? And they're like, I have no idea. I'm like, yeah, exactly. You don't. You can't keep up with all of it. You just can't.
Yeah. Yeah, last year, me and my friend Jillian, we did a whole 24-hour playlist of break down the Constitution, article by article, section by section.
Yeah.
Breaking it down.
By the way, if anybody wants to see, there's Kip.
Glad we could help.
Yeah, that's Kip. Yeah, that's Kip chilling for right now. Finally got. She's funny because she always gets uppity whenever I start talking, but eventually she gets bored. It has like an off button that she's just like, okay, I'm done, out.
Yeah, here's the playlist if anybody's interested. But yeah, we talked about the Constitution, how it changes over the years and stuff. It's like, I think they originally voted for it so the former slaves could be citizens, you know, because they were born in the country, but they weren't citizens because of what was that thing? Not the was it Plessy Ferguson or Dred Scott? Dred Scott, that was the one.
Yeah.
And like trying to overthrow
there were it's the fact that they're trying to undo the 14th Amendment should raise red flags for just about everybody. Because here's the thing, like, there was not a lot of immigration laws until the beginning of the 20th century. There just weren't just a ton of them. There were some.
We missed the China thing earlier.
Yeah, that was the first real big one.
Where this China guy was born here, but they're like, nah, you're not citizens, get out.
Yeah. And it was I mean, the thing is like, I mean, America's never been kind to immigrants. We claim we are, and in some cases we are, but we're not.
The thing is, even the immigrants aside, if that thing passed, Trump could be like, "Oh, you're a Democrat, you're not a citizen anymore.
Yeah.
Get out because you disagree with me."
Yeah. Exactly. And that's where, like, this is where the love it or leave it crowd kind of drives me nuts. Is like, if they do the whole, like, love it or leave it thing. But here's the thing. Why the fuck do you think that I fight so hard? Why do I have my channel? Why have I worked for Kyle for 14 years? Why have I been neck deep in this for 25 years? Because I didn't want this shit to happen to the country. Like, and I'm going to fight for it. Like, this is, like it or not, this is where I'm from. I am American, and I'm going to fight for it. And also, the interesting thing about it is I don't think Trump expected the pushback that he's getting with people who, even if he had people who either weren't paying attention or were marginally on his side, turn around and be like, fuck no, this isn't America. This isn't what I signed up for. No. Like, don't you. The whole thing is usually like, you don't fuck with America, but you definitely don't fuck with America if you're the government and you don't push us to this point. Because we are not going to take it lightly. There are a lot of people who are really angry about it, and a lot of people who are fighting for it, for what we want and what we think this country should be.
So besides, trying to trying to get people dumber, make people not know what science is and stuff, and history, rewrite science, and make people dumber. And what else is Christian nationalism trying to do to the country?
One of the things they're doing is trying to take over business. They are really behind the push behind getting rid of the minimum wage and that kind of stuff. Because here's the thing. If you keep people struggling paycheck to paycheck, if that's all they have time to do is to work, come home, take care of their family, get food on the table, go to sleep, go back to work, they don't have time to fight with you. So that's a big part of it. And they also want to get it to the point that it's like, that's all you can do. But also, the women can't work and the women can't do anything because the women are at home raising the kids that you're forcing them to have.
Yeah, I think that began. I'd be wrong, but it was like during World War II or something. The women were working, and then after the war happened, they're like, let's go back to country. They're like, no, we like working.
Yeah, exactly. And frankly, like, women couldn't own a damn bank account or a credit card unless they had a husband until the 1970s and 80s. Like, what the hell? Try telling me that I can't get a fucking credit card. I dare you. Like, and women now just like aren't, like, we're not taking that shit. And I think that the Christian nationalists are going to have a much bigger fight on their hands than they think they're going to if they think they're going to try to shove that kind of crap down women's throats.
It's funny though. What I don't understand is a lot of the people trying to say that some of them are women.
Yeah, I don't know. I have never understood that mindset, and I never will. Probably because they're the rich ones who have like nannies and shit for all their kids.
My husband will vote for me. He understands me.
Yeah, which, like, that idea, and I'm surprised that they even put that out there, but like, that's just freaking bonkers. Like, even even members in my family who are hardcore Christian, not necessarily Christian nationalists, but hardcore Christian, are like, there is no way anybody is taking my vote. Ain't gonna happen. And speaking of voting, here's one thing that just to dispel rumors, people have said, like, oh, undocumented people are voting. The crime for voting illegally when you're not supposed to in most places is like 5 years in prison. There is not a single person who is going to risk 5 years in prison and then get deported for a single vote. Ain't gonna happen.
That reminds. I looking up amendments. During my thing, it's like the 19th Amendment, women vote. Some of the states haven't. Some of the states didn't pass it until recently.
Yeah. Yeah, and but the thing is that once a certain number, I think it's 30.
I think
it's I think 37 states. Once 37 states ratify it, it goes in the Constitution and it's law. And the other states, whether they ratified it or not, don't have a choice. They have to.
Well, it was 3-4. So I think back then it was like less than 37. It might have been less because I think 1919.
It was 30. It was 36 for prohibition. So I think it was 36 for prohibition. Okay, so it would have been about the same because they were I forget what was the year before, and then prohibition was next. So
yeah, I forget when the 48th state was passed because the 49th and 50, that 49th and 50 was 1950, I think. 49, 50, maybe 60, but I forget when the 48th state became a state. When the all the cotton.
49th would have been Alaska. Hawaii was last. So, and I think Hawaii was 1950, 1949, somewhere in there.
Yeah, so I forget when the last of the continental United States became a state. When we were finally see the Chinese Sea officially.
Yeah. But yeah, that was 1918. I think the 19th Amendment was passed. Prohibition was passed just before that, but it didn't go into effect until 1919. So,
and it luckily got overthrown 10 years later.
It was 13 years and 8 months, and the only reason I know that is because one of the things in there was beer, wine, and liquor that had already been bought before prohibition could be kept and served and all that stuff. Like, you could use what you had. One of the clubs in New York had stored up enough wine to serve their guests for 14 years, and it ended up being almost prophetic. That it was
Yeah, that's another thing about reading the fine print and stuff. Because I think a lot of people, when prohibition passed, they thought it was only going to apply to very hard liquor, the very like very hard liquor. Like they didn't think it can apply to beer or wine. Like they're talking about the hard guys, the hard things. Like, what do you mean I can't have a beer anymore?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. The Volstead Act that actually, so there's the amendment that put the law into place, but they actually needed something to enforce it, which was the Volstead Act. Said it was 0.5%, which would have made like sauerkraut illegal. There is a very, very good documentary. It was on PBS. I'm not sure if it's still there, and you might need a sub to PBS for it. But it's from Ken Burns on Prohibition. It's a 3-part series, and each part is like 2 hours. But it is phenomenal. It starts from, I love Ken Burns documentaries. He does such a good job on all his documentaries. But this is one of my favorites. That it starts like in the 1830s, 1850s, and shows like the run up to Prohibition, shows Prohibition getting passed, the first part of Prohibition, and then Prohibition falling. And it's just it's an amazing series.
Did you ever watch I forget what channel it was. Oh God, oversimplified Prohibition thing.
Yeah, that what?
Oversimplified channel on YouTube.
Oh yeah. I've heard of it. I haven't seen it. I keep meaning to take a look at it, but yeah, there's Prohibition is really interesting, and it says a lot about the country too. But yeah, it's just like it's crazy. It's nuts. Um, but yeah,
Here,
it's just like Christian nationalists would like to control that. Like they would like to do away with alcohol. They would like to do away with pretty much any vice that's out there. They want to do away with.
I gave you moderated for chat abilities if you need to.
Okay, thank you. Sweet. That's cool. Um,
but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but yeah, it's just it's just it's where'd my thing go? Sorry, I got all messed up on my windows here. There we go. But yeah, it's one of those things that if you look at anywhere in the government or even anywhere in daily, okay, like another example of Christian nationalism was this freaking halftime show crap.
Oh.
Yeah. Because the thing is, yeah, what they would have loved to do is they would have loved to be able to basically force all of the networks to cut the Bad Bunny performance and show the K-Rock performance instead. They would have loved that. They couldn't.
That's another thing happening. Not this is that people don't know that Puerto Rico is a United States territory, which makes them a United States people.
Yeah, they're U.S. citizens. Holy shit!
I mean, they don't have enough right. They can't vote or anything. They don't have rights like we have. But still, they're citizens.
The mainland. They can. They move to they can. They move to the mainland. They can. They're U.S. citizens.
Yeah, I remember. I was doing a hurricane a few years ago. They're like, "Why can't these people money to a foreign country?" I'm like, "They're not a foreign country."
Yeah. And the thing is the same people who are arguing that are the same people I'm arguing with. No, they're citizens, you dumbass. At this point, and I'm just like, I'm so sick of arguing with these people. It's just like, come on, they never learn. They never learn. And yeah, like controlling, like if you go to TikTok and try to type in Epstein in anything, and even my son's all up on TikTok, and he said that Epstein's being that it's being moderated and shadow banned like mad. That's another thing the Christian nationalists are doing. They are covering for Trump like mad. I mean, this thing doesn't stop until Trump's out of office. But the thing is if you're aware of it, if you're aware of it, you can at least point it out and do what you can to try and stop it and say, like, no, we're not gonna tolerate this.
Like I said, I just hope, cross fingers, knock on wood, that if the election goes well in a few months,
yeah,
12 months, that we can at least try to stop or overturn some of the stuff that's happened in the last 2 years.
I think what's going to happen, and okay, so this is my optimistic view. I think they are going to try like hell to cheat, but I think that the votes for the Democrats are going to be too overwhelming for them to argue with. I think it's going to be too big for them to rig in the way that they're trying to rig it on such short notice. Yeah, they're tied to their nation. It's kind of patriotism. It's a big ass deal here. The Nazis were nationalists. Nationalism is kind of a feature of fascism. So Christian nationalists are fascists just by pretty much definition. I think you're muted.
I was, but yeah, I think I was coughing, so I muted myself. But I think I love it when they tried that Christian nationalism tried to compare the Christian nationalism tried to compare the liberal side to the Nazism.
Yeah, and that's not the case at all. Like, I know Nazism, and no, the liberals are not Nazis. Not even close.
Like how and they try to compare, like, was it social Darwinism to regular to natural selection,
Yeah.
and like you do know that Hitler burned Darwin's books,
Yeah. He burned a lot of shit. And the thing is like, and this is what I keep having to remind people, is the Holocaust didn't start with the Jews. It started with the disabled, and it started with the leftists, and it started with the trans, and it started with all the groups that they're trying to go after now. It didn't start with the Jews originally. I mean, that was pretty obviously the ultimate goal, but it didn't start there. Basically, it's one of those things of, if you think you're safe, I don't care who you are, you're not. Unless you are their specific brand of Christian and Christian nationalists, and you do not step out of line, you will be a target at some point.
Yeah, I think there's 2 poems about that. There's the famous one, and there's one that I think Forrest did about the hangman poem that he did on his TikTok.
Yeah, I saw that one too. That's a good one.
About how, oh, it's somebody else. I don't care. All of a sudden, hey, someone help me! I'm being persecuted. Where everybody go?
Yeah, which is one thing that this is one thing that I love about this community in general, is we stand up for everybody. Because, yeah, one thing that draws us all together is we're all atheists, or we're all skeptics. But the thing is that we understand they come after one of us, they can come after all of us.
Yeah, that's the thing, is like we get our bills, so we don't have a hive mind.
Yeah,
we're all
exactly.
Individuals working together for everyone.
And the one thing that I personally really love about this community is we have a pretty strong sense of justice, and we don't take the bullshit. Like, we don't listen to the bullshit.
That's the thing I like too. When I first left Christianity, I realized one of the reasons I stayed there for a long time was because of their community. Community.
And I mean, I can understand almost everybody. Like, I don't have like a traumatic like deconversion story. Like, mine was like, I literally woke up one day, I'm like, why the hell am I still doing this? I don't believe any of this shit, and just moved on with my life. It was like a 2-second thing, like, oh, okay, I guess I'm not now. But the one thing that I did miss is I missed that community. I missed having people to hang out with every week, and people, to go with, and people I call my friends and all that. But the thing is thankfully, and especially the age of the internet and what we got now, I have that community here. I mean, me and my friends might be spread all over the country, but it doesn't matter. It's just because we can still talk, we can still get together and hang out. I mean, you get to see me and at least a few of my friends every Monday morning on Java and Jugs. And we just hang out and do our thing. I absolutely love this community. It's the best thing I've ever found in my life. And I'm wondering where it was for the past 20 years.
Yeah. Oh.
Mm-hmm. Me personally, and before that, it still is my community on Secular Talk. Like, those are my people. So, yeah.
Let's get to our mark. You have to go somewhere? Or you talk for longer?
I'm kind of getting to the point that I've got to go do some stuff. I got my grandson here, and it's Valentine's Day.
Okay,
so.
yeah. Sometimes I ask that because sometimes we don't keep track of time. Sometimes we talk for 15 minutes and we're done. Other people, times we talk for 5 hours one time. And
I get that. I was on a phone call recently, and I looked down at my phone, and it had been 3 hours, and I was like, "Oh, holy crap!" And then sometimes you're talking to someone for 10 minutes, and you're like, "I wish I could get off the phone."
The same thing happened. Right back to church thing in time. One time, this guy was talking. This guy was talking for like 15 minutes. And I'm like, "Oh my god, he done yet?" Another time, this other guy was talking. I was into it, and it was over with. I got about my friends were waiting for me in this car. I was like, you just get here? Like, I've been waiting for an hour. You've been for it's been 2 hours? Like, what in the hell?
Yeah.
So, but anyways, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I hear you. Yeah, honestly, I would if my grandson wasn't here, but my grandson's kind of getting crazy. So
yeah, before we go, like another one is before we go is I had to. I did this thing about this game series, talking about this, and for 3 hours we're talking about this game series, and 3 hours later I realized we're still in the first game of the series, so I had to make it a mini series. Because 3 hours later we haven't left the first game yet.
Yeah,
anyways,
there's some things like that, like stuff on Tolkien. I can talk about for hours. Don't get me started on Tolkien.
Like, oh yeah, cool. It's been 3 hours. We're still on the 3rd chapter.
Yeah.
But anyways, anything you want to advertise coming up on your channels or other channels?
I've got obviously my channel is Lil of All Trades. I do there's Java and Jugs on there. Be on Politicality tomorrow discussing the news of the week. We also have a poll up, so go check that out. There last night there was a interview done with Ambushed Apostate that me and him talk about Christian nationalism, which is extremely interesting, and you should definitely go check that out too. And I am also at Better Than Ember most weekdays. So that's where you can find me. And I do live streams from time to time. They're kind of pop-up streams for whenever I feel like it. So but that's where you can find me.
Yeah, for me, nothing's happening next week. But I'm trying to make a movie about I'm trying to edit together a movie for next week about all of my podcasts with Erica in one movie section. So if I get that edited done, look for that. Then in 2 weeks, me and my friends will be talking about Phase 4 of the MCU. How some people think it all went downhill, other people still like it. So that's when they started doing you gotta watch the TV shows to keep up with anything now.
Yeah.
And then in 3 weeks, I'll be with Dragon Genesis talking about the origin of the Bible.
Ooh.
And then maybe in a month from now, we're still editing the stuff. I'll be with the guys he's talking about apologetics.
Ambush Apostate, yeah.
Yeah, him. I don't know yet. We're still working on details. That'll be about a month. So that's about a month of details for my channel.
Mm-hmm. And I'm happy to come back anytime you want to have me. So
cool. Anytime you want to talk about, we'll talk about. Do you have a catchphrase?
No, I do not. I haven't got to that point yet.
I always say, never stop learning. Enjoy the randomness. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for watching my podcast or Let's Play. If you want to help support my channel, you can make a monthly or yearly pledge on Patreon, or just a one-time donation on Vimeo, PayPal, or Cash App. For those looking for something to wear, we have some shirts, hats, and other stylish things in our merch store. If you enjoy gaming, you can always follow and sub to me on Twitch. For those who don't want to give money, I have an Amazon and Steam wish list who can help the channel out. And of course, just liking, leaving a comment, and sharing this video helps more than you can imagine. And always remember to never stop learning and enjoy the randomness.